What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fourth and Goal Sports Show. I'm your host, Tyrus Filson, and today I'm going to be talking about the top three benefiters of the Dan Quinn hire by the Washington Commanders. Yes, the top three benefiters in the sense of who are the top three benefiters that are currently on the roster, the top three players that are benefiting from this hire of Dan Quinn the most, and I'm going to encourage you before we get started to please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, as well as follow to the Fourth and Goal Sports Instagram page. But without further ado, let's get started. At the number 3 spot, we've got Cam Curl. Now, Cam Curl is already, in my opinion, an elite safety in this league. He's a solid safety. He gets it done. Cam Curl is serviceable. He's one of the best when it comes to what he does. But one of the issues with Cam Curl is he lacks the ability to force turnovers, and he just hasn't done it. I should go back and refrain from saying, okay, maybe he does have the ability, but he hasn't shown that consistently, and that's a big key factor and attribute for all elite DBs in this NFL currently. The top DBs, Trevon Diggs, guys like that, they get it done, right? But guess what? Guys like Trayvon Diggs, guys like Deron Bland, who were forcing turnovers time and time again, guess who was their coach? Dan Quinn was. Dan Quinn puts DBs in the best position to get that bag. And Cam Curl, he wants that bag. He wants that bag. He wants to return to Washington getting what he feels he deserves, right? And what he's earned. But guess what? Turnovers is a big key factor. I think that Dan Quinn could really benefit Cam Curl's game if he's coming back. Cam Curl, expect him to have a big year in Washington, to force turnovers, to overcome the critics, to overcome some of the naysayers, and also I believe it's going to strengthen his weaknesses with this hire. I can only see Cam Curl improving as a player. So I'm excited to see what he does next season, and 100%. The Dan Quinn hire is definitely going to make him a better football player. No doubt about it. Going to the number 2 spot. Number 2, I'm going to go with Phidarian Mathis. Now, to many, this is a surprise because, a lot of people don't talk about Phidarian Mathis too much because, quite frankly, there isn't much to talk about. The Washington Commanders drafted him second round in the 2022 NFL draft, and ever since then, his very first game, got hurt, missed that whole rookie season practically, and then he comes back sophomore year, gets hurt again. So it's like we've missed so much of Phidarian Mathis. He did get to play a little bit this season, but it's like Phidarian really needs to lock in for this new regime for Dan Quinn, because I really feel like Dan Quinn can improve his game. And, from what I've heard from Cowboys fans even expressing, what was Dan Quinn like, with Dallas? One of the key factors that they mentioned, from what I've heard from other content creators in the Dallas Cowboys fan base community, Dan Quinn improved the D-line the most out of all defensive positions, the D-line. And that's not a surprise to me because Dan Quinn played D-line in college at Salisbury. And Dan Quinn, he is a elite defensive football mind. I think he can benefit Phidarian Mathis because right now, I hate to say it like this, but I'm going to say it like this. I got to be honest. I got to be blunt. I got to be 100. Phidarian Mathis is just a big D lineman that takes up space. He's not, as of right now, he's not worth that second round pick that the Commanders spent on him. So can Dan Quinn elevate Phidarian Mathis' game? Can he turn him into, a big time player? Because you draft a second round pick on a D tackle, you want that guy to show out. You want that guy to do what he has to do. And the biggest thing is health. Can he stay healthy? But when he's on the field, we need him to do more than just take up space and, just be half of what we thought this guy was going to be. Because, to be honest, you spend a second round pick on a guy, he needs to show up. point blank period. But I think Dan Quinn's going to get something out of him for sure. Something more than what Ron Rivera got out of him. Something more than what Jack Del Rio got out of him. Because if he's just going to be a roster piece that takes up space, get him off the roster, find somebody else, because we need guys. If we're going to run it back next year and win more than 4 games and try to make a playoff push, which should be the goal every year, and ultimately the top goal should be what? A Super Bowl? You need dogs. You don't need guys who just are on the roster taking up space. You need dogs. You need playmakers. And Fedarian Mathis right now is not either one of those things. He's not a dog. He's not a playmaker. He's just a guy who takes up space. But that can change with Dan Quinn. I believe it. We're going to see. Time will tell. We're going to see. But at the number one spot, last but not least, I've got Jamin Davis. Jamin Davis, what can I say about this guy? He has the talent. We drafted him out of Kentucky. He has the talent. Jamin Davis, he has so much talent, but I feel like so much of his talent has been, not exhibited or not displayed properly or effectively because of who his coaches were, quite frankly. Look at who this man was being coached by. Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio. They play a large part in his development as a player, right? 100%. Another thing, too, I just don't feel like Jamin Davis was worth that first-round pick so far from what he's shown us throughout his career. I think we picked him first-round pick 19 of the 2021 NFL draft. And looking back, what can I say? Jamin Davis, I can see this talent that I saw back then now today. He's gotten better progressively, 100%. Was he worth that first-round pick? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Jamin Davis is a second or third round pick talent at this point in his career. Now, he's still young. He's still in the early stages of his career. So when you take into account of who was responsible for developing him as a player, when you take into account that he was drafted way before he should have been drafted and put into a difficult position here in Washington, I think that Dan Quinn can turn Jamin Davis into the player he's meant to be. We drafted him to be our star linebacker or our best linebacker, right? And he just hasn't been that. But I think that Dan Quinn can possibly turn Jamin Davis into the player we want him to be, into the player Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio saw in him when they drafted him, because he has that potential. I see it 100%. But he's not there yet. He needs some development. He needs to work on his coverage skills. He needs to bulk up a little bit in the offseason. That's something I think he could work on as well, right? But Dan Quinn, man. Dan Quinn is going to turn a lot of these regular Jags on the roster, just a guy. We have a lot of Jags on this roster. Guess what? Dan Quinn's going to turn them into some dogs. From Jags to dogs. From Jags to dogs. I think Dan Quinn can pull it off. I'm excited for what's to come. One thing I can say this for sure. One thing is for sure. You can lock it in. That Washington Commanders defense will be better than it was this season. Book it, because Dan Quinn, one thing he always does, he comes into situations where defenses that are garbage, that are terrible, that are trash, lackluster, mediocre. And guess what he does? He flips it on his head, turns them into turnover machines. Look what he did with Dallas. Dallas, he comes in there. Trayvon Diggs, dog. Guess what? Diggs get hurt this season. Who's going to take the spot for him? Who's going to continue the mantle? Guess what? DeRon Bland steps into the fold. Dog. If we can put players in positions like that, right? You never know what can happen. Emmanuel Forbes. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take a lot. But I want to add Emmanuel Forbes because talking about Trayvon Diggs, talking about Deron Bland, attributes that they both have in common, both of them, they are both ball hawks. Guess what? Emmanuel Forbes, ball hawk. The Cowboys scouted him out of the draft, and they knew his talent level. They knew that. They knew that from the jump. They knew his talent level. And all I can say is this, man. Emmanuel Forbes has so much talent, but coaching did him a disservice. His immaturity did him a disservice. He wasn't locked in. Celebrates after every small little play. So hopefully, another thing too, hopefully he can lock in mentally, mature a little bit as a football player, as a man, and also he needs to put on some pounds this offseason because whatever weight he was this year, he was getting thrown around like a little puppy. He was. He was getting pushed around like he was just a stick out there, you know? So he needs to lock in on his meal prep, maturity, and, you know, I think Dan Quinn, if Forbes can meet Dan Quinn halfway, even halfway, he'll become a better player. But it's going to take a lot of Forbes maturing, putting on that weight, getting to the weight room, right? But Dan Quinn can turn him into a special player. I truly believe that. I truly believe that because you've heard what folks have said about Forbes. He has the talent. Aqib Talib, one of the all-time great cornerbacks in the NFL, what did he say about Forbes? I know one when I see one. I know one when I see one. That's a compliment to hear from an all-time great. What did Darryl Green say? He said, this guy he has it. He has it. He has it. So I have no doubt Forbes has the talent. He just needs the right coaching. He just needs the right support. He needs the foundation, and he also needs to mature and work on himself because next season is going to be a big one for him. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. But in conclusion, I just want to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the Fourth and Goal Sports Show. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, as well as follow to the Fourth and Goal Sports Instagram page. Without further ado, have a blessed day. Peace.